it's TxStampin Sharon. Today we're going to be playing with some plants and make a card. If you're new to my channel, I want to welcome you. I invite you to subscribe below and then hit that notification bell. You'll be notified every time I upload a video. I love this suite and I hope that you all are inspired. So let's get started. Bloom where you're planted. I loved this suite. I knew I had to have it as soon as I saw it. I did purchase the whole suite because I call that the easy button. You just put in that number and you get everything you need and you haven't forgotten anything. You get the designer series paper, you get the stamp set and the dies, and you also get these great lattice papers that are kind of a craft color. I was just hooked. And the thing that's so fun that I really love the most is the macrame hanging basket. Now my husband and I have a lot of plants in our home, but I don't have a macrame basket. So, or a macrame holder for any baskets. But yeah, here are the papers. So we're gonna leave one of those out because we're gonna use it on today's card. The designer series papers are super fun because you can use them, of course, you know, like on your card. But there's also another trick, and I'll be showing that to you in just a moment. I was inspired by this card. My card is going to be very similar. And whenever you have first gotten a bundle or a stamp set and you're like, I really like that one card I saw, but what else can I do with it? Look at the pictures that the artists have done from Stampin' Up and then make it your own. And that's exactly what I did. I decided I wanted to change a few things, so I did. So here is the Plentiful Plants stamp set. Love the big fonts. Love the images, love all the different things that you can do with it. I think I've made 4 cards that I'm going to share with you guys. And then here are the Perfect Plants dies. There's that macrame hanging basket. And then of course you have your pot, some for the greenery, leaves, things like that. So I told you I was going to share a real fun fact with you as far as the dies and the designer series paper. So the fun thing is the dies will cut out. Let's see, is it this one? No, this one. We'll cut out some of the leaves or some of the images on the designer series paper. Let's see, this one, we'll cut out the mother-in-law's tongue. And then this one, we'll cut out this leaf. Super fun. So as a matter of fact, that's what I did on my first card. I used these leaves, which I will be doing, to make my card or part of my card. Okay, so that's those dies. On one of my cards, I actually fussy cut one of the plants, but you don't have to. You can just cut the paper and just use that as your focal point. But I enjoyed just sitting there fussy cutting and I was surprised. All right, let's talk about this pattern. So when you take the dies, it will cut out that pot, this pot, and this pot. Super cute. So you can stamp the pots, but you know what? You can also die cut them. I love it when Stampin' Up does that. And I love it when I figure it out. I go, oh, look, that's the same size. Before I forget, I do have a download on my blog that you can grab the video. The link to my blog is below the video, and it has the measurements and everything that I used for the cards that I made that I'm going to be showing you today. So here's my first card. So as you can see, I modified what the artist did, and I kept playing with this hanger, and I wanted the leaves to go down over the front of it, you know, because just really a luscious hanging basket. So that was my goal. So that's what I went with. So I've already cut out my leaves. Whoops. And I have my card base. I am using Cinnamon Cider. I love that color. I have a scrap of crumb cake and I have a scrap of basic white to do some stamping on. And then there is my tile, and I'll be cutting that to save that designer series paper to use on another project. Here is a scrap of, or not a scrap, but a piece of garden green. And then here is my layer that will go right here. So that's my basic white. Again, all the measurements are on that tutorial. I find that if I just do those tutorials, then I don't mess you guys up and say the wrong sizes or something. Now, the other thing that I'm using is the new Baker's Twine Essential Pack. You get all different colors of Baker's Twine, and that's what we're going to be using. We're going to use that color. Now, what I want to do with this color is I want to cut out my hanging basket, so I will do that. So let's do some stamping. I'm going to get my cinnamon cider ink pad, and I'm going to stamp my flower pot. I love the shading, the little highlighting and everything. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my garden green, and we're going to stamp those leaves, that little vine. So I've cut out my vine and my pot. We're going to set those aside. Actually, I'm going to leave the pot right there. I'm going to get this layer. This will be on the front of the card. I'm going to get my garden green back out. This card is actually going to a friend of mine. Do you ever look at a stamp set or look at something and it reminds you of somebody? This reminds me of my friend Marty, who lives in Arizona, and she was one of the first people that I met. Not the first, but one of the first people that I met. And she just helped me in so many ways. She loves plants, and I just thought that she would enjoy this card. All right. So I'm going to place my hanging basket where I want it, and then I'm just going to use a pencil, and I'm going to mark the outside, and you'll see why. Okay, so I just have just a little rough outline. So my pot's going to go in there. And the next thing I want to do is I want to get that vine again, and I'm going to stamp some more. So now that I know where my pot is, I'm going to move this out of the way so I don't stamp on it. And then I'm just going to, I can cock it a little bit, do it like this. So I have that like that. And then I have my leaf that I cut out, and you can kind of angle it, do it different ways. It really doesn't matter, like you can even bring it up higher, but you can put it wherever you want. And we're actually going to stick it on the back of our pot. So it will go like this. Okay. Add some adhesive to the back. We're going to put our pot down. I don't know, I'm still playing. How do I want it to go? I think I want it like that. There we go. So you see how we're building on this arrangement? So the next thing I want to do is I want this to go like that. I want it to be hanging over the front. And I believe on this one, yeah, I did. I turned it even more. And then you just kind of scoot it down. Get it where you want it. It's going to line up like that. That looks pretty cute. Okay. So we're going to get some liquid glue. Before we do that, we're going to grab our thread, our baker's twine, and we're just going to loop this through. Just giving ourselves a little bit of room there. And then we're going to get our liquid glue. We're going to get our sponge. And add some glue to the back. And we're going to place this like this. Cute, 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 cute. Okay, so next we're going to get our tape. And this hanger, we're just going to bring it to the back. And we're going to add some Scotch tape to hold it in place. Super quick. And there we have it. You can even, I think I did, we're going to add some, we're going to grab some little mini dimensionals, and I'm going to go ahead and pop the back off. Whoops. And we're just going to stick this under there. A little bit hard to do it at the same time that you're adding the liquid glue. There we go. So now our plant is kind of blooming out over it. All right, we're going to set this aside. And I'm going to get my paper trimmer out. And I just want a tiny, tiny strip. Maybe a 1/4 of an inch. We'll do a 1/4. I think I even did it smaller than that. I did. Just a tiny little strip. Let's go ahead and do it a little bit more. So you can make it as wide as you want. And then we're going to take our designer series paper and we're just going to cut, let's see, we're going to cut it this way. Nope, this way. We're just going to cut off the bottom a little bit. And that looks about right. If you want, you could cut it in half and then just make your green layer taller if you wanted to save this for another card. That's a thought. Let's see if we can make it happen. Oh, that's going to be a little bit too big for my card. Okay. Huh, that was pretty good for eyeballing. It's not really any measurements to it, but you can do something else with this. This is a good size piece of paper. Okay, time to put our card together. What I want to do is I'm going to use this piece of designer series paper as my guide, and I'm just going to trim my crumb cake piece to line up with this, like that. So this is going to line up here. So see what I mean? You could just make your green piece a little bit bigger. Mine is pretty close. I needed about 3 inches. So this piece is 3 inches by 4 inches. So we're going to add some adhesive to the back. I am using Seal Plus. Make sure our card opens the right way. And we're going to stick this down here. And then we're going to add our designer series paper for the top. lining up on the sides, the top, looking pretty good. And then we're going to get our liquid glue again. And we need to check and see which side do we want. That's the one. So we're going to flip this over. We're just going to add some liquid glue. And the purpose of this is purely cosmetic. I just didn't lack just the stopping of that. You don't have to do that when you're making your card. Next, we're going to grab some dimensionals and pop those on the back. Centering this right here. And now our card front's done. We need to do a little bit more stamping. We have a piece of basic white that we're going to use for the inside. And I'm going to pull back out my cinnamon cider. And this is the part that makes me so happy when I think of my friend Marty. You were there, and I am grateful. Love you, girlfriend. Okay, so we're gonna add this to our card. I can't wait to show you the other cards that I made because they're all very different. So much fun playing with this bundle. So that's my card, and I hope you love it because I do, and I hope she does too. How about this one? This is the one that I fussy cut out the big plant. I cut off part of that lattice, and I added a strip of cinnamon cider at the bottom just to kind of make it look like a shelf. I don't know. And then I kind of did the same thing. I did use the dies and the designer series paper to cut out that leaf. So designer series paper, stamping. So many fun things. Oh, and that little thing, it's the new little brads. Since I didn't want to drape the baker's twine over the back like I did here, I pulled out these brads. They come in squares. They have little square heads. That would have been cute. Anyway, squares, rounds, black and white. So much fun. This one was inspired also by the artists in the catalog, but I did change mine. I made it my own, okay? So here is our stamping. This is stamped. This is a pool party. I stamped with, I think that was Cajun Craze. I stamped the mother-in-law's tongue. I stamped the leaves. So this one was pretty much all stamping. I didn't use any of the designer series paper. And then those of you who are my mystery stampers, you know about this card. This is highlighting that plant designer series paper. I stamped the pot, I stamped the leaf, and then I add my layers. I did include the measurements for all of the cards on that handout that I told you. And if you need any of these supplies, you can find them in my store. Down below the video, you can click the show more button. So I hope that you have fallen in love with Bloom Where You're Planted. So happy stamping, y'all.